John does have a good question here. Speaking of AI, does your AI retrain on data in real time? For example, if one ROSA learns from an event, does it propagate it to all ROSAs through the cloud? That's a really interesting question.
It's funny. So last night I was out at dinner with GHS. GHS is our primary funder right now. And so I was out with the principal and one of his guys, and we're just talking. We're talking. He's a tech guy, right? He's got 90 portfolio companies. He's a great guy. They trade so well. They're so anyway. Um, and we start talking about quantum computing and regenerative AI. He calls it regenerative AI. He's like, Steve, I got a couple investments going on in regenerative AI. And I say, so what is regenerative AI? Well, it trains itself to get better. And I was like, okay, well, how does it do that? And then we started talking about it because I live in that world. I live in the world where false positives are a problem. And we've distinguished ourselves in the market with our process of how we train false positives out of the system. So we have a dashboard, and when you're getting your alerts, I got a button on it. No one else has a button on it where you can declare it a false positive. It goes into a bucket. And then that bucket, every few days, our internal perception team takes it and we do a retraining on whichever library, or we add it into the library, do a retraining on it. So it is a manual process. And there is an element of training that requires human interaction. And this automatic retraining thing, for me, the knowledge and AI experience that I have isn't real. There's a bucket, there's a guy, there's annotation happening and retraining happening.
Yeah, definitely the human interaction element is important at this phase in artificial intelligence development, and I actually I'm going to refer to that later just because I find a couple things very, very fascinating. I was talking about AI to, it was just, we were in a group, we were just hanging out, probably around the fire. I don't remember. It was late night, but it got really awkward quick.
It got awkward quick.
It did get awkward quick because I started talking AI, and I'm like, artificial intelligence, where do we think this is going? I forgot what sparked the conversation, but there is a sense of extreme caution and fear with our reliance on artificial intelligence. And we talked a little bit about this earlier, but what are some of the red flags you have? I was just out today, literally. I was out today and I was talking to a friend literally 3 hours ago. And I go, yeah, I have an interview with a AI company, Steve Reinharz, he's coming on. And, he's like, oh, I don't like it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't like it? That's it? You just don't like it? So what are some of your reservations, for some red flags that you have if we start relying too heavily on this technology?
Yeah. I mean, the first way that I look at it is from the viewpoint of inevitability. So the way that I see this is I see this as a bit of a tidal wave. We're on shore, we're on the beach, and I see this tidal wave headed towards us. And the tidal wave is full of change and disruption and disorientation and chaos to some extent. And that wave is AI. And what I'm doing as a human and as a citizen and as a parent and a spouse and so forth is I'm saying, okay, how do I position myself in order to not get swept away by the wave? And for that reason, I'm on the wave. I'm part of the wave, right? Some battles you can't win, you have to join them. So we've definitely joined the wave. We're a part of it, obviously hoping to lead the way into prop tech like I talked about earlier. At the same time, and I first wrote about this in the early 90s when I first put out kind of my first thought piece, my first book on artificial intelligence, which is crazy, right? I was 19 years old, but we should be very scared about it. We should be. It is going to be incredibly challenging. Many people are going to benefit greatly, like all changes, and the majority of the people are going to suffer and be worse off because of it. It's just how change happens. That's why, again, folks who follow me, hear me encourage them to learn about AI, get on the wave with us. So what do I think the biggest impediment to a successful, smooth integration of AI into our world is? I'll share that with you. But before I do that, I'll share with you, we will not have a smooth and easy and reasonable and well-informed integration of AI into our world. And that was illustrated most recently when Sam Altman was giving a deposition. I don't know his deposition, but giving testimony to a Senate committee earlier this week, where he's basically saying the same thing. And the problem with this whole bit, the reason why our AI implementation as a society, as a civilization, as a species is going to be so messed up is because politics. We can't decide on basic human rights. We can't decide on much together as a team. Then when we're in a situation where you're either on one side or the other, that's it. Don't cross the aisle because we'll crucify you. That environment makes it impossible to tackle big challenges like AI. And I can't understate how big a challenge AI is. So I feel we're dreadfully equipped as a society. And I think it's going to be a mess.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I'm not getting political, but, no matter who's in charge, we can't balance a freaking budget. And yet we have to try and get all the things right, especially with something as sensitive as this. And, like when Stewart puts out a comment like this, quantum computing will change AI to the point of being able to reason itself. No more bucket needed on down the road. And, that's the type of sentiment. I mean, like, I think a lot of us have that, in the back of our minds. And like you just stated, like, we are our own worst enemy sometimes, and we go out to solve a problem and we end up making the problem 20 times worse.